The vanishing point. The grand chamber of the Galactic Conclave fell silent as Ambassador Darien Morgan entered. The vast dome housed representatives from over 300 spacefaring civilizations, most of whom regarded humanity with a mixture of fascination and distrust. Overhead, the artificial sky projected the current state of the galaxy, pinpoints of light representing member worlds, trade routes glowing like arteries between them. Humanity's territory was a small cluster at the edge, a recent addition that many still resented. Morgan straightened his ceremonial uniform and approached the central podium. At 58, his weathered face and silver-streaked dark hair reflected decades of interstellar diplomacy, fighting for humanity's place among the stars. The reception committee, composed of the conclave's founding species, watched him with expressions ranging from polite indifference to barely concealed hostility. "Ambassador Morgan," greeted High Arbiter Zexthal, his translucent tentacles rippling with bioluminescent patterns that betrayed his agitation. "The conclave acknowledges Earth's representative." "High Arbiter, esteemed representatives," Morgan bowed slightly, the gesture calculated to show respect without submission. "I thank the conclave for granting this emergency session. Your request cited matters of grave importance to galactic security," rumbled Corvesh, the granite-skinned representative of the militant Drovian hegemony. "Speak plainly, human." Morgan nodded, activating the holographic display at the podium. "For the past 3 standard cycles, humanity has worked diligently to meet the technological benchmarks set by this august body for full membership." The image shifted to show a sleek vessel unlike typical human designs, more organic in appearance, with curved lines that seemed to flow rather than connect. "The Horizon, our most advanced deep space vessel, equipped with our latest propulsion system that meets conclave standards for sustainable interstellar travel." "We are aware of your prototype, Ambassador," interrupted Neri Sef, the avian representative of the Eloran sovereignty. Her feathers shifted from azure to a skeptical purple. "Though many question whether humanity has truly developed such technology independently rather than appropriating it." Morgan had expected this. Humanity's rapid technological advancement had been a source of suspicion since their first contact with the conclave 80 years ago. Most species took centuries to progress from planetary flight to interstellar travel. Humans had done it in less than one. "The Horizon was scheduled to arrive at Conclave Station Alpha today for inspection and verification," Morgan continued, ignoring the barb. "It would have been the final step in our qualification for full membership." The vast chamber grew quiet as the representatives began to understand the reason for the emergency session. "However," Morgan's voice remained steady, though his hands gripped the podium tightly, 48 hours ago, the Horizon disappeared from all tracking systems. Our last communication indicated they were passing through the Cygnus void en route to the station." The chamber erupted in a cacophony of voices, clicks, telepathic bursts, and synthesized translations. "Order," thundered Zexthal, his tentacles flashing crimson. When silence returned, he fixed Morgan with all 4 of his compound eyes. "Ambassador, are you telling us that your most advanced military vessel, carrying technology that has not yet been verified as compliant with conclave safety protocols, has vanished in neutral space?" "The Horizon is not a military vessel," Morgan clarified firmly. "It carries a diplomatic and scientific contingent led by Commander Josephine Reeves, one of our most decorated officers. Its purpose was to demonstrate our technological compliance, not—" "Its purpose is irrelevant if your people have lost control of it," interrupted Corvesh, rising to his full 3-meter height. "A vessel with unverified drive technology in uncontrolled flight poses a catastrophic risk if it suffers a cascade failure in populated space." "We have no reason to believe the ship has malfunctioned," Morgan countered. "Our preliminary investigation suggests it may have been interfered with." This statement sent another wave of murmurs through the chamber. "Explain yourself, Ambassador," demanded Zexthal. Morgan signaled his aide, who transmitted data to the central systems. The holographic display shifted to show sensor readings and communication logs. Our analysis indicates an unknown energy signature in the vicinity of the horizon's last known position. We believe the ship may have been deliberately targeted. By whom? Asked Neri Sef, her feathers now a concerned gold. Are you accusing a conclave member of this interference? We are making no accusations, Morgan said carefully. We are sharing information and requesting assistance. Whatever happened to the horizon affects all of us. Commander Reeves's mission was one of peace and cooperation. Aboard the UES Sentinel, Captain Elias Drake studied the latest search data with growing frustration. As the commanding officer of Earth's most advanced search and rescue vessel, he had been dispatched to the Cygnus void immediately after the horizon's disappearance. After 3 days of methodical scanning, they had found nothing but cosmic dust and radiation. Captain, we've completed another full-spectrum sweep, reported Lieutenant Olivia Nakamura, his sensor officer. Her dark eyes reflected the blue glow of her console as she shook her head. No debris, no energy readings consistent with the horizon's profile. Drake ran a hand over his close-cropped hair, the gray at his temples a testament to 20 years in Earth's stellar navy. What about the anomalous readings we detected yesterday? Inconsistent, sir. They appear and disappear without pattern. Science team says it could be a natural phenomenon unique to this region. I don't believe in coincidences, Lieutenant, Drake said, rising from his command chair to study the main view screen. The Cygnus void stretched before them, a sparse region between spiral arms of the galaxy that most ships avoided due to its lack of navigational references and strange subspace currents. Sir, called Communications Officer Raj Patel, incoming transmission from Earth Command, Priority Alpha. Drake nodded, in my ready room. Moments later, he faced the grim expression of Fleet Admiral Helena Torres on his private screen. Admiral, we're still searching, but... Captain, I'm issuing new orders, Torres cut him off. Her weathered face looked as though she hadn't slept in days. The diplomatic situation has deteriorated. The Drovian hegemony is claiming the Horizon was a military vessel on a covert mission. They've moved a battle group to their border with our space. Drake felt his stomach tighten. That's absurd. The Horizon's mission was transparent. Transparency means little when species have been looking for an excuse to contain us since first contact. Torres leaned closer to the camera. Captain, I need you to understand our position. If the Conclave accepts the Drovian narrative, they could authorize a preventative security action against Earth. A euphemism for invasion, Drake said quietly. Precisely. Ambassador Morgan is doing everything he can diplomatically, but we need that ship, Captain. Found, salvaged, or at least explained. The Sentinel is our best hope. Drake straightened. We won't let you down, Admiral. After the transmission ended, Drake returned to the bridge, his mind racing through options. Lieutenant Nakamura, recalibrate our sensors to focus on those anomalous readings. If they're inconsistent with natural phenomena, they might be deliberate interference. Sir. Drake's expression hardened. Someone or something doesn't want us to find the Horizon. Let's prove them wrong. Commander Josephine Reeves regained consciousness to the taste of blood and the sound of emergency alarms. The bridge of the Horizon was bathed in red emergency lighting, with sparks cascading from damaged consoles. Status report, she croaked, pulling herself up from the deck. Pain lanced through her side, probably broken ribs. Commander, you're alive? Dr. Thomas Harrison, the ship's chief scientist, helped her to her feet. His normally pristine lab coat was torn and smudged with soot. We thought we'd lost you when the main systems overloaded. The crew. Minor to moderate injuries, no fatalities, Harrison reported. But Commander, we have a situation. Reeves steadied herself against a console and looked out the main viewport. What she saw made her breath catch in her throat. Instead of the empty void of the Cygnus Passage, an immense structure filled their view, a vast geometric construction that seemed to extend infinitely in all directions, composed of metal that gleamed with an iridescence not found in human engineering. What am I looking at, doctors? Harrison swallowed. We don't know. One moment we were on course through the void, the next we were. Here, our navigation systems are offline, communications are dead, and propulsion is minimal. How long was I unconscious? About 3 hours. We've been trying to assess our situation, but our sensors can't penetrate that structure. It's as if it's simultaneously there and not there. Reeves's tactical mind quickly assessed their options. Life support status. Stable for now, but running on auxiliary power. We have perhaps 72 hours before critical systems start failing. She nodded grimly, and our position. Harrison hesitated. That's the most troubling part, Commander, according to what little our navigational system could determine before failing completely. We're no longer in the Milky Way galaxy. Reeves stared at him, then back at the impossible structure outside their ship. That's not possible. No propulsion system could cross intergalactic space in an instant. I agree, which means whatever brought us here operates on principles far beyond our understanding, or that of the Conclave. A sudden realization struck Reeves. The Conclave mission? Earth will think we've failed, or worse, that this was some kind of deception. Commander, called Lieutenant Wei Zhang from the communications station, his voice tight with urgency. We're receiving a transmission. It's coming from the structure. Put it through, Reeves ordered, straightening despite her pain. The bridge speakers crackled with static before a voice emerged, not synthesized, but not quite organic either. It spoke in perfect English, each word measured and precise. Vessel of Earth, you have been selected. The test begins now. In the private chamber adjacent to the conclave hall, Ambassador Morgan faced a tribunal of the 5 most powerful species in the galaxy. The mood was tense, accusatory. Ambassador, you must understand our position, Zexthal said, his tentacles now a cold blue. The timing of this disappearance is suspicious at best. Just when your ship was to undergo final inspection, it vanishes. What would Earth gain from such a deception? Morgan countered. We've worked for decades toward conclave membership. Perhaps your military-decided membership wasn't worth the technological restrictions that would come with it, suggested Corvesh. Perhaps they preferred to keep their advances secret, away from conclave oversight. Morgan shook his head. That's not who we are. Then explain why your search vessels are scanning for quantum disruption patterns consistent with stealth technology, challenged Nerisef. Technology prohibited by conclave law. Morgan hesitated. They had been monitoring Earth's search efforts closely. We're scanning for all possibilities, including interference from unknown parties. Unknown parties, echoed Xander, the crystalline representative of the Tesseract Collective, speaking for the first time. His faceted body refracted light as he shifted. Ambassador, in the 12,000 years of conclave history, there has never been interference from unknown parties. There are no unknown spacefaring civilizations within reach of conclave space. Perhaps, Morgan said carefully, that is an assumption we should reconsider. The tribunal members exchanged glances. Explain yourself, demanded Zexthal. Morgan hesitated, then made a decision. For the past 5 years, Earth has been detecting anomalies, signals, artifacts, and energy signatures that match no known conclave species. We've kept this information private while we investigated, not wanting to make claims without evidence. You withheld information from the conclave. Corvesh's voice rumbled dangerously. We withheld speculation, corrected Morgan. But now, with the horizon missing, I believe these anomalies may be relevant. He activated his personal data device, projecting images of strange formations found on distant moons, recordings of signals that followed no known pattern, and energy readings from the edge of explored space. We believe there may be another player in our galaxy, Morgan continued. One that has been observing the conclave and humanity from the shadows. And we believe the horizon may have been taken to prevent our full integration into the conclave. The chamber fell silent as the tribunal processed this information. Finally, Xander spoke, his crystalline voice resonating. If what you suggest is true, Ambassador, then we face a threat greater than any diplomatic dispute between our peoples. I agree, Morgan said solemnly. Which is why I propose a joint task force, human and conclave ships working together to find the horizon and investigate these anomalies. Whatever our differences, we now face a common unknown. The tribunal members conferred silently, using their species' various forms of private communication. Morgan waited, knowing the next few moments might determine not just humanity's future in the galactic community, but perhaps the safety of the galaxy itself. Zexthel finally turned all four eyes back to Morgan. Your proposal has merit, Ambassador. But know this. If we discover that humans have fabricated this threat to avoid conclave oversight, the consequences will be severe. Morgan nodded gravely. Understood, High Arbiter, but I give you my word as Earth's representative, we seek only truth and cooperation. As the tribunal disbanded to consult with their governments, Morgan's communicator vibrated with an incoming message. It was from Captain Drake of the Sentinel, marked urgent. The message contained only 4 words, but they changed everything. We found something coming home. Beyond the veil. Captain Elias Drake stood before Earth's Unified Defense Council, his uniform immaculate despite 3 days of non-stop work. The chamber, carved deep beneath the Rocky Mountains, housed the 12 directors who oversaw humanity's military and exploratory operations. Ambassador Morgan sat to one side, his expression grim but hopeful. Captain, began Director General Imani Washington, her commanding presence filling the room despite her small stature. Your report indicates you found evidence regarding the Horizon's disappearance. The Council is eager to hear it. Drake activated the central holodisplay. 3 days ago, the Sentinel detected quantum fluctuations inconsistent with known natural phenomena in the Cygnus void. By recalibrating our sensors to track these fluctuations, we discovered this. The hologram displayed a spinning object no larger than a basketball, an intricate geometric construction of unknown metal and crystalline components. A device of non-human origin, Drake continued. It was actively emitting signals that created a masking effect in the surrounding space. We believe it deliberately concealed whatever happened to the Horizon. Have you identified its creators? Admiral Javier Rodriguez asked, leaning forward. Negative, Admiral. The technology matches no known conclave species. Its quantum architecture is at least 3 generations beyond current conclave standards. Ambassador Morgan exchanged glances with Washington. This confirms our suspicions of a third party. There's more, Drake said, his expression darkening. When our science team attempted to access its internal systems, the device activated a dormant protocol. The hologram shifted to show recorded footage from the Sentinel's lab. The device suddenly glowed with an intense light before projecting what appeared to be a star map. Then, shocking everyone present, it spoke in perfect English. Humans, your vessel Horizon has been selected for assessment. Stand ready. Observation continues. The message complete. The device self-destructed in a flash of light that damaged the lab's equipment but harmed none of the personnel. Silence fell over the council chamber. It knew we were human, Morgan finally said. It knew about the Horizon. And it's been observing us, added Washington. The question is, for how long and to what end? Drake cleared his throat. Director General, there's one more critical detail. Before the device self-destructed, our systems managed to partially decode the star map it projected. We believe it shows the current location of the Horizon. The council members straightened in their seats. Where? Demanded Rodriguez. That's the problem, Admiral, Drake replied. According to our astronomers, the location is 3 million light-years from Earth, in the Andromeda Galaxy. Commander Josephine Reeves studied the holographic projections floating above the Horizon's conference table. For 5 days, they had been trapped in orbit around the enormous alien structure, running on minimal power while conducting every scan and analysis their damaged systems allowed. So what exactly are we looking at, Dr. Harrison? She asked, gesturing to the complex diagrams. Harrison adjusted his glasses, a nervous habit he'd never abandoned despite corrective surgery. We believe it's a quantum transportation hub, Commander, a nexus that connects distant points in space, possibly even between galaxies. Lieutenant Zhang nodded in agreement. The energy signatures are consistent with theoretical models for artificial wormhole generation, though at a scale we've never imagined possible. And you're certain we're in the Andromeda Galaxy? Reeves pressed. As certain as we can be with limited navigational systems, Harrison confirmed. The stellar configurations match our records of Andromeda, though we're in a region far from any Earth telescope's detailed observation range. Reeves absorbed this information, her tactical mind already calculating implications. And the beings who brought us here? These. Architects, as the transmission called them. We've detected no life signs on the structure, Zhang reported. But the energy patterns suggest an intelligence is present, perhaps integrated into the structure itself or existing in a form our sensors can't recognize. Reeves paced the conference room, ignoring the pain in her still-healing ribs. So an incredibly advanced civilization has transported Earth's most advanced vessel 3 million light-years from home, claimed they're testing us, and then gone silent for 5 days. That about sums it up, Commander, Harrison said with a weak smile. The question is, testing us for what? Reeves stopped at the viewport, staring at the massive structure. And why us specifically? The ship's communicator chimed, and Chief Engineer Octavia Russell's voice came through. Commander, we've managed to restore partial power to the long-range scanners. You're going to want to see this. Minutes later, Reeves stood on the bridge, staring at the enhanced sensor readings. The structure they orbited wasn't alone. Throughout this region of Andromeda, similar constructions floated in space, dozens of them forming a vast network. My God, whispered Harrison. It's not just a transportation hub, it's a gateway system spanning an entire galaxy. Reeves felt a chill run down her spine. And if they can bring us here in an instant, they could potentially send anything to our galaxy just as easily. Zhang finished the thought. The implications hung in the air. A civilization with this technology could bypass all of the Conclave's defenses, appear anywhere in the Milky Way without warning. Commander, Russell called from her engineering station, her dark skin gleaming with sweat from working in the overheated engine sections. I've managed to restore emergency communication capabilities. We can send a tight-beam quantum transmission, but only once. The power drain would leave us critical. Reeves didn't hesitate. Prepare the transmission, we need to warn Earth. In the 3 weeks since the Horizon's disappearance, the political landscape of the Conclave had transformed. Ambassador Morgan stood in the observation lounge of the Conclave station, watching as ships from a dozen species conducted joint maneuvers. The sight would have been unthinkable a month ago, humans training alongside the most advanced Conclave forces. A remarkable change, observed Nerisef, the avian diplomat joining him at the viewport. Her feathers had settled into a thoughtful shade of teal. From suspicion to cooperation in less than a lunar cycle. Morgan nodded. Fear of a common enemy is a powerful motivator. Not enemy, Neri corrected. Unknown, we have no evidence these architects are hostile. Abducting a ship across intergalactic space without consent seems fairly hostile to me, Morgan countered. Neri's head tilted in the equivalent of a shrug. By that standard, many of our first contacts with less advanced species could be considered hostile. Advanced technology often appears threatening simply because it is incomprehensible. Before Morgan could respond, his communication device signaled an urgent message. He excused himself and moved to a private alcove. Ambassador, Director General Washington's face appeared on the small screen. We've received a transmission from the Horizon. Morgan's heart leaped. They're alive. Yes, and they've sent critical intelligence. I'm transmitting the data to you now. Share it with the Conclave leadership immediately. This changes everything. Within an hour, Morgan stood before the full Conclave assembly, the chamber more crowded than he had ever seen it. Representatives from all member species were present, even those who typically attended only through proxies. Esteemed members of the Conclave, Morgan began, his voice steady despite the weight of his message. As you know, Earth's vessel Horizon disappeared 3 weeks ago under mysterious circumstances. 1 hour ago, we received a transmission from Commander Reeves. The chamber erupted in murmurs and clicks as translation systems worked overtime. The Horizon was transported to the Andromeda Galaxy by an advanced civilization that identifies itself as the Architects. This civilization possesses technology that makes interstellar travel, as we know it, obsolete, artificial wormhole generation on a scale previously thought impossible. Morgan activated the central holodisplay, showing the data transmitted by the Horizon, imagery of the vast transportation network, energy readings, and preliminary analysis. The Architects claim to be testing humanity, but Commander Reeves has discovered something far more concerning. Their scanning of the Architect network revealed that these transportation hubs exist in every major galaxy in our local group, including dormant nodes in our own Milky Way. The silence that fell was profound, as the implications sank in. Ambassador, High Arbiter Zexthal finally spoke, all four of his eyes focused intently. Are you suggesting these Architects have been present in our galaxy without our knowledge? Yes, High Arbiter. Commander Reeves's analysis indicates the dormant nodes in our galaxy are ancient, possibly predating the formation of the Conclave itself. They've been inactive for thousands of years, but recent energy fluctuations suggest they may be reawakening. This is why they took interest in the Horizon, realized Xander, the crystalline representative. Your propulsion technology must have generated resonance patterns similar to their own systems. Morgan nodded. Our scientists believe the quantum principles underlying our new drive system inadvertently activated dormant Architect technology in the Cygnus void. We were noticed because we accidentally knocked on their door. What do these Architects want? Demanded Corvesh, the Drovian representative, his granite-like skin creased with concern. According to Commander Reeves, they appear to be evaluating civilizations throughout multiple galaxies. Their database, which the Horizon team partially accessed, contains records of thousands of species, many of which evolved and perished long before any of our civilizations arose. Morgan paused, letting the implications sink in. They're gardeners, whispered Nerisef, her feathers shifting to white, the color of revelation in her culture. They've been cultivating intelligent life across galaxies for millions of years. And now they've taken notice of us, added Zexthal gravely. Morgan straightened his shoulders. The Horizon is trapped, operating on minimal power. Commander Reeves believes the Architects are waiting for a response, not just from humanity, but from the Conclave as a whole. How we react to this revelation will determine our standing with a civilization that could either elevate us to unimaginable heights or... He left the alternative unspoken. On the Horizon, Commander Reeves stood alone on the observation deck, staring at the vast Architect structure. The past 12 hours had brought a flurry of activity as the crew prepared for what might be their last mission. The door slid open behind her, and she didn't need to turn to know it was Harrison. The modifications to the quantum drive are complete, he reported. If your theory is correct, it should create a resonance pattern that will activate the dormant transport systems. And if I'm wrong, we'll blow ourselves to atoms, Reeves said with a grim smile. Harrison joined her at the viewport. The crew has unanimously voted to proceed. We all understand the stakes. Reeves nodded, grateful for the courage of her people. Has there been any response to our transmission? Nothing yet, but given the distance, even with quantum entanglement communication, there could be delays we don't understand. We can't wait, Reeves decided. The Architects are clearly expecting us to do something, and I'd rather act on our terms than theirs. She turned from the viewport, her decision made. Prepare the ship for immediate departure. We're going to activate that node. The joint Conclave human fleet positioned itself around the coordinates where the Horizon had vanished. 47 vessels from 17 species, the largest combined force assembled in centuries, waited in perfect formation. Aboard the UES Sentinel, now designated as the human flagship for the operation, Captain Drake studied the final preparations. Ambassador Morgan and a delegation of conclave leaders had transferred to his vessel to oversee the unprecedented operation. "All ships report ready, Captain," Lieutenant Nakamura announced from her station. Drake nodded. "Begin quantum resonance sequence." Throughout the fleet, specially modified emitters activated, broadcasting the precise frequency pattern derived from the horizon's data. The Cygnus void began to shimmer as space itself responded to the coordinated signal. On the bridge, Morgan stood beside High Arbiter Zexthal, both tense with anticipation. "Ambassador," Zexthal spoke quietly, "regardless of what happens next, know that your people have proven themselves worthy members of the galactic community." Before Morgan could respond, Lieutenant Nakamura called out, "Captain, quantum fluctuations intensifying. We're detecting a massive energy surge." The view screen showed the fabric of space folding inward, creating what appeared to be a tunnel of pure energy stretching into infinity. At its center, a pinpoint of light grew steadily larger. "Something's coming through," Drake announced, his voice steady despite the tension. Every person on the bridge held their breath as the light expanded, then flashed brilliantly before dissipating to reveal a ship, the horizon battered but intact. "We're receiving a transmission," reported Communications Officer Patel. "On screen," Drake ordered. Commander Reeves's face appeared, tired but triumphant. "Captain Drake, Ambassador Morgan, the horizon reporting home." The bridge erupted in cheers, quickly silenced as Drake raised his hand. "Commander, your status." "Ship and crew intact, Captain," Reeves replied, "and we've brought guests." The view screen shifted to show the space behind the horizon, where a smaller vessel of clearly alien design had followed through the quantum tunnel. Its construction mirrored the geometric patterns of the Architect technology. "An Architect emissary," Reeves explained. "They wish to establish formal contact with the combined leadership of our galaxy." Morgan and Zexthal exchanged glances of astonishment. "There's more," Reeves continued, her expression growing serious. "The Architects haven't merely been observing us, they've been protecting us. The quantum gateway system isn't just for transportation, it's a defensive network designed to monitor and counter threats that exist between galaxies." "Threats?" questioned Zexthal. "What manner of threats exist in intergalactic space?" Reeves's expression was grim. "They call them the Void Harbingers, entities that exist in the darkness between galaxies, feeding on the energy of stars and civilizations. The Architects have been holding them at bay for millions of years, but they're growing stronger, more numerous." "And now they need allies," Morgan realized. "Precisely, Ambassador. The Architects tested us, not to judge our worthiness, but to assess our potential as partners in a conflict that spans galaxies and epochs." The implications washed over the bridge like a wave. Humanity had not merely stumbled onto the galactic stage. They had inadvertently opened a door to a universe far more complex and dangerous than anyone had imagined. "The Architect emissary is ready to come aboard," Reeves concluded. "They bring knowledge and technology beyond anything the Conclave has ever seen, but they also bring warning of a war that will determine the fate of not just our galaxy, but all galaxies." Morgan stepped forward. "Tell them we're ready to receive them, Commander. The people of Earth and the Conclave stand ready to face whatever comes." As the transmission ended, the assembled leaders looked out at the vastness of space with new understanding. The universe had suddenly become much larger, more wondrous, and more terrifying than they had ever imagined. The last ship of humanity had not disappeared in vain. It had instead opened the door to humanity's greatest challenge, and perhaps its greatest destiny. In the observation lounge, Morgan stood alone, watching as the Architect vessel approached. Its geometric structure seemed to shift and realign as it moved, defying conventional physics. "So it begins," he whispered to himself. The galaxy indeed held its breath, not in fear of humanity's ambitions, but in anticipation of a new chapter in cosmic history. one where the youngest spacefaring race might prove to be the catalyst that united galaxies against the darkness between the stars. The horizon had vanished, and in doing so, had illuminated a path forward that no one could have foreseen. Humanity's journey among the stars had only just begun.